With the Big 12 at odds with Texas Tech, it begs the question, is the Big 12 heading towards irrelevancy? And what could the conference do to claim its stake at the top of college football? We break down where Texas Tech might stand in the future of conference realignment and what that means for the Big 12 today on the Broadway Shuffle with Clayton Anderson, Conrad Mills. I am Brennan Baxter. And gentlemen, we've been no short of Big 12 controversy the last several weeks in regards to the Brendan Sorsby saga, the schools potentially making Texas Tech pay legal fees post Brendan Sorsby not being Texas Tech quarterback. But it's got us thinking, and Conrad, especially you, where does this conference stand in the future of college athletics? We saw last year specifically in 2025, BYU not get the respect that many people thought it deserved as a two-bid conference, Texas Tech having the only bid. And the Big Ten and SEC don't seem to be taking us very seriously at all here in the Big 12. So, Conrad, going to you first and your thoughts on what this offseason drama may mean for the future of the conference and what should we expect from the Big 12 over the next 12 to 24 months when it comes to conference realignment, Senate bills, everything going on in college football.
Your guess is just as good as mine. I have no clue what's going to happen. No one does, if they're being honest. It's one of those things in college sports now where you just have to take it in stride as it comes, right? You never know what's going to happen. You never could have predicted what's taken place over the last really 5 years in college sports. It's a completely unrecognizable product from what it was before with NIL, transfer portal, colleges leaving, conferences going to another one. It's just, there's so many different things going on. And there's been pluses to that, but there's been minuses as well. I think the Big 12 as a whole, it feels like to me is seeking either there's two options, guys. It either has an identity and then it's everybody versus Texas Tech and we can't stand Texas Tech, or it has no identity at all and is trying to figure out who they are. That's what I feel like is happening with the Big 12, at least when it comes to football. Basketball is a great football or great basketball conference, but football, you just wonder like who's going to step up. And I think it's a perception battle as well. And so those are my kind of initial thoughts on this, but you never know what's going to happen and where the Big 12 is going to stand going into realignment here in a few years.
Yeah, and Clayton, Conrad brings up a good point. Football obviously reigns supreme, but this has been probably the deepest basketball conference over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. But that doesn't drive the money. That's not where the money is. And we know that this is a football generating income for these schools. That's the only sport that really matters when it comes to money in college athletics. And so for you, in your mind, with how the Big 12 has fought Texas Tech this offseason, with where this could go, with the bill at stake in the Senate and the Protect College Sports Act that Cody Campbell is trying to push forward, where do you think this leaves other schools in the conference when they're thinking about positioning? Because I'm sure that Oregon State and Washington State 5 years ago, 6 years ago, weren't sitting in a room thinking we're going to get left behind. Is it fair to have other schools in the Big 12 conference asking that same question? Are we going to get left behind? Do you feel like other schools in the conference should be asking that question?
Yeah, I think everyone outside of the Big Ten and the SEC should probably be asking themselves that question. And I honestly don't think there's, a single school in the Big 12 that would feel good about it, like making into a Super League if it's say like 36 to 40 teams. Like, I don't even know if there's a single team that's like a sure bet for, I think 40 there would be, but 36, let's say. I don't think there's a single team that would feel good about that. So every school needs to be positioning themselves. I think everyone's best bet is like trying to get the Big 12 to stick and not have the SEC and Big 10 break off, which is what the Protect College Sports Act is about. But like we touched on last episode, like it doesn't feel like some of these schools have that same sense of urgency. Like we talked about Baylor hiring a magazine editor or director, whatever, as their athletic director. Like that doesn't seem like that would be the move I would be making with this dire situation. But I think the Big 12, for the collective, if they want everyone to survive, needs to figure out a way to secure their own grant of rights and then just poach ACC teams if and when Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina, whoever else it is, leave for the SEC. I think that's how they, remain as the third power conference in that scenario.
Yeah, and Conrad, that's where, with everything going on and the 15-1 that we're seeing, it was about tortillas, and now it's in lawsuits, and it was about quarterbacks, and it just feels like there's still this discomfort amongst the members in regards to Texas Tech. And that can be jealousy, that can be frustration, that can be they just don't have a Cody Campbell that's funding the way that we are. But regardless, it just doesn't feel like the end. It's not going to, the end it won't benefit all 16 members. That's where I feel like we're heading. Is it fair to say we're on that road? And if you're Texas Tech, I think you brought up a great point. We were texting about this, Conrad, where you said if you're Clemson, I believe you said like Clemson, Florida State, Miami, there's like the ACC brands. Is there a world where you could form a conference within Texas Tech? Like a lot is on the table when it comes to the future of college athletics, and you might be at the center of what Texas Tech might be looking to do in the next 4 to 5 years after the conference has treated them this way this offseason.
Yeah, it's really the scenarios at play are pretty much endless, right? Like there's obviously preferable ones that Texas Tech fans would have. There's also likely ones, and looking at those likely ones, seeing other schools like that from the ACC come over to the Big 12, if that could even happen. Obviously, the SEC and the Big 10 would want a Florida State, a Clemson, a North Carolina for obvious reasons, right? I think that'd be really cool to see them if they could, somehow, some way form a third power conference, because then that even a third conference like the Big 12 or Big 10 and the SEC, I think that could be cool to see. But I will say, I don't know. I will say what's frustrating for me, and we like to hate on Rutgers on this show. I don't know why we always bring up Rutgers.
It is always Rutgers, isn't it? Like we're always like, that's the school that gets picked on the most. Yeah.
Well, it's like, what are they? What are they good at? Like why? I don't know. We just have a vendetta against Rutgers for whatever reason. But I think what's frustrating is like the schools like that are just, we're somehow in these regional conferences and you can't get kicked out of a conference and they're safe. And while a school like Texas Tech is investing, is growing, is winning, it's like we may get left out of this whole thing, hopefully not, but schools like that get in. And so I would just ask you guys, when you look at college sports as a whole and you look at that, what do you think about that, where you have schools that are sitting there not having success, riding the coattails of the Big 10 and the SEC?
Clay?
Yeah, I mean, that sucks. That's like the worst part, is watching schools like that. Purdue football, obviously Purdue basketball is good, but they've done nothing in football. Mississippi State, and then you're seeing the work. I'm not even going to call it just Tech, but like Oklahoma State was an incredible football program for years. Other Big 12, Kansas State was great. Baylor's had their moments. And all those schools are just afterthoughts. I do think that like even those schools should feel pressure about the Super League, because if they're safe in the SEC or Big 10, but if there's like a breakaway, I don't think those schools are making it just because they've been in those conferences in the past.
And then if there is a breakaway, can you pay your way in? Like if you've got enough money to the thing that Texas Tech does have going for it, when you look at the future, 2027, you have one of the top recruiting classes in the country. And so it's like you're just going to, shove these guys to the side. And by then, who knows, maybe we're 3-time defending Big 12 champions and have won multiple playoff games and maybe a national championship if all things go well. And, are you just going to leave teams at the table? Is it success-based? Is it money-based? Is it merit-based? Is it history? Like, what would that even look like? I think for me right now, the concern is you just need to be doing everything you can to earn a seat at the table, whatever the table is. And in my mind, Texas Tech, moving on from the offseason drama, is doing that. Like they've hit on everything they've needed to do across multiple sports: softball, basketball, track, football. So in my mind, Texas Tech has put themselves in position to be there. It's whether the other people want to have you. I mean, that's just how it feels right now. And that concerns me. But if I'm the rest of the Big 12 conference, if I'm Kansas State, if I'm West Virginia, Cincinnati, I am not trying to pick a fight with what right now is the one brand. You mentioned Conrad, Rutgers riding the coattails, that you need to be riding to get you a seat at the table, potentially to build up your conference. Like you saw in the playoff last year, BYU had a better strength of record, SOS, everything, than a lot of the teams that got in. OU, Notre Dame, BYU at 11-1, lost to Texas Tech twice. Sorry, we don't think your conference is that good. So those schools are going to they're going to be left if it comes down to this is a football specific league.
Yeah, and I think that is one of those it's one of the sad realities of college sports. Because obviously on this show we are pro Texas Tech in every way. Very easy to be over these last few years in football, especially, but also basketball and softball and other sports. But it's really sad that we're even having this conversation, isn't it? I remember,
Yeah.
now in the previous era of college sports, Texas Tech was not nearly as successful as it is in this one, for obvious reasons, investment, not only in facilities but in resources, coaches, all these different things. But it's really sad that college sports has really taken a turn from focusing on, okay, where are we playing? Who's their quarterback? Who's their defensive end? Who's this? Who's that? There's still obviously that, and we talk about that during the season. But the reality is, it's just a different era, and so much of it is dominated by money and TV deals. I mean, I remember 10 years ago, I wouldn't even know where. Like, oh yeah, I knew they played on ESPN, I knew they played on Fox, I knew like all these things. But now it's like even the average fan is like, oh my goodness, these TV deals and the discrepancies between them. I mean, we're talking business just as much as we're talking college football.
Mhm.
And they're one and the same in this day and age. But it's just kind of frustrating that that's where college sports has gotten to, where you just don't even know if your school's going to survive in 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Heck, you don't know if they're going to survive through an offseason, depending on which quarterback you bring into the portal. Uh, Clayton, just to wrap up this conversation, if you had to predict in the next 5 years that the Big 12 will still be a conference, so 2031, I believe that's when the media deal is up. It might be 2032, but I think it's 2030 or
Yeah.
2031. If the Big 12 will still be a conference in its current form, you prediction, yes or no, where would you go?
I definitely think the Big 12 exists. I'm trying to think if I think it'll be like in the current form. Because I do think the next move, rather than the Super League, is going to be the ACC imploding with those schools being poached by the three other conferences. So I guess I'd say no, but the Big 12 will exist with some, probably like four more ACC schools.
Yeah, Conrad, is it crazy to think that you could be in a conference with Florida State, Clemson, Miami? Like, I know Yormark's kind of flirted with the ACC in the past. I mean, maybe that's where this is headed. But at that point, if the ACC implodes, you've essentially got three conferences forming a super league, whatever that looks like. So it is going to be a form of that. But dude, take it. I would love to play Florida State, Miami, and Clemson. Like if it's the ACC, assuming, and like I still think those are big blue blood brands in the sport. It would be a ton of fun. Could you imagine Miami rolling into Lubbock?
Or Texas
Like that,
Tech rolling into Miami.
we don't. I don't know. That didn't work out too well in January.
Yeah, yeah. But
So,
that was a
but
previous season.
it was
So
So yeah, Conrad. I mean, it is something where we should expect this conference and what the future of it looks like for Texas Tech to be different in the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, that's where, unless something drastic changes, that looks like that's where we're headed.
yeah, we are, and that's okay. I trust the leadership we have in place. I think it's going to be all right. I think the investment's still going to be there. I just want Texas Tech to be in the best position to succeed, the best position to represent this university in Lubbock and West Texas well. And I think they have. And I think they will. And that's exciting. I would much rather be in our position, even though we really don't know what's going to happen. Than plenty of other schools in the Big 12 or the ACC.
Yeah.
Or even the Big 12 or Big 10 and the SEC too, because you're going to see if this Super League is formed like some people want. We'll see what happens. Like that could be a very, very real possibility where a lot of schools are left behind. But I would love to play Clemson. I would love to play Florida State. I would love to play Miami. You put those teams in a conference with Texas Tech, BYU. You could have a very, very good top of the conference that could, I dare say, and would rival the Big Ten and the SEC as much as they wouldn't want to hear it. Those four, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and Texas Tech, you get those programs rolling, which you could very well with the recruiting base and all those things. Man, that could be really special.
That's a take. That is a take.
Florida State's got a long way to go.
Yeah,
We've seen them be there.
Mr. SEC is saying that Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and Tech would rival your favorite conference in the sport.
The top of the conference.
Okay.
The top of the conference. They could. Okay. I mean, you had Miami and obviously Miami and then Texas Tech in the playoff last year.
Yeah. You make a good
Clemson's
point.
won a two national championships. Florida State's won a national championship. I know that was 2013.
Mhm.
Still, it's not crazy to say that they could get back to those places.
They're still certainly huge brands. So if you have an
Mhm.
opportunity to, I think our point is if you do get an opportunity to merge with those schools and now you're at least competing with them, I think you'd always have a seat at the table.
Mhm.
As much as I actually am a fan of the current conference in its form. I thought that you did everything well. BYU, Utah, Arizona State, Arizona. These have been good ads. Like those Western teams, I think have been really good ads and make for exciting rivalries within the conference. Of course, it's not Texas and Oklahoma and some of the Big Eight, Nebraska like type games, but heck, I would still take beating them and winning the Big 12 championship and going to the playoff over losing, which you wouldn't lose now to Texas, but back in the day, struggling to Texas or OU, right? So it's just crazy to think like in 2030 your schedule could be just a bunch of random teams from all over the country and we have no idea what it looks like, and it's like we got to get up for Texas Tech and North Carolina. Like I don't know, it would just feel weird in a way too, but that's where it's going to go.
I wish there was a way, guys, to regionalize it again. I think, and you can say whatever you want to say if you're whatever school, and I mean, but think about it. USC should not be traveling. It's not even just football; it's volleyball. USC should not travel from LA to New York to play a volleyball game. Like,
Yeah.
no, you can play volleyball up and down the West Coast. You can play it in Arizona. You can do all those things without having to fly cross country and wear these student athletes out and do all these things. I mean, it's just not. That's not. And there's no. And part of what makes college sports special, like we've talked about, is the interstate regional rivalries. I mean, come on. I would love to play Texas and Texas A&M every year. I would love to play OU every year. Like Texas Tech with this type of investment against those schools. I mean, talk about the epic games we would see year in and year out. But we don't see that anymore because the money has driven everything, which, again, I understand that this is America. We're a capitalistic society. But at the same time, you do have to ask, okay, what's best for the schools? What's best for the student athletes? And how can we make this beneficial for also the fan bases? Because the fans are really what makes this run, right? Like they're the ones who watch the game, spend the money, go to the concession stands, all this stuff.
The powers that be don't seem to care about that.
No, they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
But if I was a power to be, I would.
You will be one day. That's why you're in the position you're in right now.
One day,
you're on the fast track.
I'll be running for commissioner of college football one day.
We actually just I know this is a personal matter here on the show, but Conrad was our Dynasty Fantasy League commissioner and went ahead and retired, and now Clayton Anderson's taken over. So
no, that's incorrect. Brennan and myself were the Dynasty League commissioners.
Joint retirement.
And we retired. We released a joint statement to our Fantasy Football League. If you want to see that, send us a DM on Twitter. We'd be happy to show it to you. It's actually a work of art.
We're gonna go sip margaritas on the beach and enjoy our retirement for the next
you can do that. I'm
years.
Good. Thanks though.
But anyways, Clay, to finish Conrad's point, do you feel like it could go regional? Like, what path forward could we even get to where this is going to be like, okay, let's blow this whole thing up, reset it, get back to regionality, make it easy on everybody, but yet have some form of Super League conference? Like, do you even think that could happen, or are we just way too far removed from that?
I was about to say, I think that at that point, it wouldn't be like a Super League, but like a breakaway from the NCAA is the only way that happens. And I do think you're onto something with like maybe like the further away we get from how it was, the more likely, like if there's just more instances of like Stanford playing like Clemson, stuff like that, and then people like finally come to their senses. But no, I think like if the breakaway from the NCAA was like 50 to 60 teams, then maybe it's like logical to place them in like groups of 12 regional conferences. I think that's the only way. Like, those teams that left for the SEC are not going to come back to the Big 12. Same with the Big 10. That's never going to happen. It'd have to be like a completely separate organization.
But those schools and those conferences, they're not going to do. I don't think it would make sense for them to do anything that caused them to get less money. Like, they're not going to do that.
Sure.
That's not going to.
It would have to be like the pooling of the rights that Cody Campbell's trying to do. So we're like, there's money's not a difference between each conference.
Sure.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man. It's wild to talk about. Speaking of Big 12, next week, July 7th, Tuesday, we will be in Frisco covering Big 12 Media Days. It's going to be a blast. So subscribe on YouTube. We'll be releasing a lot of exclusive content just to our YouTube channel. So if you're listening, Spotify and Apple, we will be releasing a lot of fun content that day from Frisco at the Star. And it's going to be a blast. And we're going to come in guns blazing, man. I mean, we're coming in hot. We'll leave no stone unturned. Let us know, comment some questions, some ideas, some thoughts you'd like us to share, and we'll try to do our best to get to everything as well, too. So you can find us here on the Broadway Shuffle every Monday and Thursday, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Make sure to subscribe, follow, rate, review, and we will see you guys next time here on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.
He makes the catch. He's going on.